Welcome to US Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Fury as Black Lives Matter group posts image of paratrooper and says it stands with Palestine. Hughes Van Ellis, youngest known survivor of Tulsa Race Massacre, dies at 102. George Santos charged with stealing thousands from donor credit cards. Former NHL player, coach Barry Melrose retiring from ESPN with Parkinson's disease. Woman goes to 3 emergency rooms to get ring off finger. Fury as Black Lives Matter group posts image of paratrooper and says it stands with Palestine. Telegraph. Black Lives Matter Chicago has faced criticism for expressing support for Palestine and posting an image online that appeared to reference the recent Hamas attack on Israel. The group, which is not affiliated with the main Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, posted an image of a paratrooper with a Palestinian flag and the caption "I stand with Palestine." The image seemed to reference the Hamas paragliders who entered Israeli territory over the weekend. Black Lives Matter Chicago was condemned for the post, with critics accusing the group of supporting terrorists and calling for an investigation into their actions. Hughes Van Ellis, youngest known survivor of Tulsa Race Massacre, dies at 102. The Toronto Star. Hughes Van Ellis, the youngest known survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, has died at the age of 102. Van Ellis, a World War II veteran and published author, spent his later years fighting for justice and reparations for the victims of the massacre. He was just 6 months old when he and his family escaped the violence in 1921. Van Ellis is survived by his daughters and a large family. Only 2 survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre now remain. George Santos charged with stealing thousands from donor credit cards. The Independent. Congressman George Santos has been charged with stealing the identities of his donors and using their credit cards to make over $44,000 in purchases. The New York Republican allegedly made multiple unauthorized credit transactions and moved a large portion of a $12,000 transfer to his personal bank account. Santos is also accused of fabricating or stealing loans and contributions to inflate his campaign's reported receipts. Former NHL player, coach Barry Melrose retiring from ESPN with Parkinson's disease. CBC. Former NHL player and coach Barry Melrose has announced his retirement after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. In a statement released by ESPN, Melrose said, "I've had over 50 extraordinary years playing, coaching, and analyzing the world's greatest game, hockey. It's now time to hang up my skates and focus on my health, my family, including my supportive wife Cindy, and whatever comes next." Melrose played 300 NHL career games, before coaching the LA Kings and a brief stint coaching the Tampa Bay Lightning. Woman goes to 3 emergency rooms to get ring off finger. The Independent. A woman in New York spent 14 hours going to 3 different emergency rooms trying to remove a ring that was too tight on her finger. She finally managed to get it removed by a specialist using an electric ring cutter. Despite the ordeal, the woman plans to repurchase the exact same ring she had to cut off. The ring was a cheap stainless steel gold ring that cost just $6. Representative Santos faces new charges: he stole donor IDs, made unauthorized charges to their credit cards. The Toronto Star. U.S. Representative George Santos has been charged with stealing the identities of campaign donors and using their credit cards to make unauthorized charges. The new indictment replaces a previous one, which charged Santos with embezzling money from his campaign and lying to Congress about his wealth. The new charges allege that Santos charged over $44,000 to his campaign using cards belonging to contributors without their knowledge, and transferred the majority of that money into his personal bank account. Santos is also accused of falsely reporting to the Federal Elections Commission that he had loaned $500,000 to his campaign. Former Alabama lawmaker pleads guilty to voter fraud charge for using fake address to run for office. The Toronto Star. Former Alabama lawmaker David Cole has pleaded guilty to a voter fraud charge after it was discovered that he fraudulently ran for office in a district where he did not live. Cole signed a lease for a small space in a home in the district he wished to represent, but never actually lived there. He provided an altered version of the lease to media outlets when questions about his residency arose. Cole has been sentenced to 60 days in jail, with the remainder of his 3-year sentence suspended, and will be placed on probation. He has also been ordered to pay $52,885 in restitution. Cole is the 3rd Alabama lawmaker to face criminal charges this year. Joe Biden could combine U.S. support for Israel and Ukraine to break congressional deadlock. Telegraph. U.S. President Joe Biden is reportedly considering combining support for Ukraine and Israel into one package in an attempt to break a deadlock in Congress over funding for Kyiv. Biden hopes that by linking support for Ukraine with support for Israel, which has the backing of Republicans, he can overcome resistance to spending on Ukraine. The president's latest request for $24 billion of Ukraine spending has been shelved amid a breakdown in relations between Republicans in the House of Representatives. Some Republicans believe the U.S. has already spent too much supporting Ukrainian forces in the war with Russia and that there is little accountability on how the money has been used. Dear viewers, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the sixth dimension, here to bring you another round of intriguing news from the world. Let's dive right in. First, we have the controversial news of Black Lives Matter Chicago expressing support for Palestine and posting an image online that seemed to reference the recent Hamas attack on Israel. Critics have accused the group of supporting terrorists, while others have called for an investigation into their actions. It's a complex issue, with emotions running high on both sides. It's important to remember that the actions of one group do not represent the entire Black Lives Matter movement, which is a global network with various chapters. In a somber note, we bid farewell to Hughes Van Ellis, the youngest known survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, who passed away at the remarkable age of 102. Van Ellis dedicated his later years to fighting for justice and reparations for the victims of the massacre. His legacy will continue to inspire future generations. On a more scandalous note, we have Congressman George Santos facing charges of stealing thousands from donor credit cards. It seems that even those entrusted with the responsibility to serve and represent their constituents can fall prey to temptation. Let's hope justice is served and the truth prevails. In the world of sports, former NHL player and coach Barry Melrose has announced his retirement due to Parkinson's disease. Melrose had an impressive career and has been a beloved figure in the hockey community. We wish him the best in his journey ahead, and may he find fulfillment in his newfound focus on health and family. Now, onto a rather bizarre tale. A woman in New York went to 3 different emergency rooms to remove a ring that was too tight on her finger. After 14 hours of struggle, she finally sought the help of a specialist and got the ring removed. What's even more surprising is that she plans to repurchase the exact same ring she had to cut off. It just goes to show, sometimes we'll go to great lengths for the things we love, even if they're relatively inexpensive. In the realm of politics, we have U.S. Representative George Santos facing new charges of stealing donor IDs and making unauthorized charges to their credit cards. It seems this is not the first time Santos has found himself in legal trouble. The allegations against him are serious, and if proven true, it's a reminder that public servants should be held to the highest standards of integrity. In a similar vein, former Alabama lawmaker David Cole has pleaded guilty to a voter fraud charge for using a fake address to run for office. It's disheartening to see individuals abusing the system for personal gain. Let's hope this serves as a reminder that honesty and transparency are crucial in our democratic processes. Lastly, we have news of President Joe Biden considering combining support for Ukraine and Israel into one package to break a deadlock in Congress over funding for Kyiv. By linking the two, Biden hopes to garner support from Republicans who back Israel. It's a strategic move, but it remains to be seen whether it will be successful in overcoming the resistance to spending on Ukraine. That's all the news for today, folks. Remember, these stories are just the tip of the iceberg. The world is an ever-evolving place, and it's up to us to stay informed and engaged. Now, I invite you, my astute viewers, to share your thoughts and questions. What are your perspectives on these news stories? I'm all ears. Until next time, keep questioning, keep observing, and keep being curious. Dr. Six. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.